no matter your background, no matter your parents' beliefs, no matter how strict you think things are at home, you still always have some level of control on changing your reality. And you do that by working with your own mind and your own energy. Today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you can use quantum physics to be able to break free from control so that you don't have to wait until you're married, for example, or till you've been good enough. Because the thing is, you should be able to live your life the way you want, especially if you're an adult. So in this video, we'll go through how you can do that. Tip number 1, the observer effect. So we know now that everything that we think is solid is actually just a whole bunch of little tiny particles vibrating really quickly near each other that gives us the illusion that it is solid, but it's actually just energy. So everything is energy and it all exists in one big unified field of consciousness. And so in this field, what these particles collapse into, so the form that it decides to take shape in, what ends up being your reality, depends on the observer that's looking through. So in other words, based on what's going on in here, your assumptions, your perceptions and everything, you looking out onto reality adjusts and shapes the reality that's formed in front of you. In other words, you're creating your own reality with your own assumptions. So if you're always thinking in your head, I can't disappoint them, I can't do this, I'm stuck, then what's happening is this is what you're observing, this is what you're receiving. So you're just experiencing a whole bunch of situations in life where you're feeling trapped and you can't leave. But it's kind of like a self-perpetuating prophecy, I think it's called, where you're kind of creating like your own little prison with these assumptions and beliefs. If you change up the narratives to something like, my parents are strict, but I honor myself, you know, it might be a bit hard and confrontational, but I still choose me, different stories like that, then your reality will start to change and shift to align with that. Of course, you need to take actions that's in alignment with those new beliefs and assumptions. So as an action, you might be a little bit more assertive, you might say no, you might just clearly state what you're going to be doing tonight instead of asking, you know, just what you can to actually solidify the fact that you are this person who now believes that she is free, but she just happens to have strict parents, you know? Notice how you observe things. Do you notice things in fear and guilt? Do you feel shamed when you want to do something for yourself? Just observe the way you respond to life and see where you might want to make changes. Tip number 2, frequency matching. So we only ever experience what we do in life based on our own frequency. We have a human body. Around our human body, we have an aura. And the way your aura is vibrating is based on the kinds of thoughts you're having and the feelings you're experiencing. So if you're having a whole bunch of negative thoughts, then your aura is going to be kind of negative. And then what happens is your aura acts kind of like a magnet and it starts to attract negative experiences into its life. So if you want to change what's going on around you and you feel trapped, you need to try and change your own frequency, because the reality is essentially just mirroring your own frequency. So there's all kinds of ways to do that. You know, just think about when you feel good, when you feel upbeat and energized, you know, your frequency is high at those times. When you're having like nice, healthy, high frequency foods like fruit and vegetables and listening to high frequency music, you know, this is the kind of stuff that helps us. Paying attention to the kinds of thoughts you're having. Are they high frequency thoughts? Are they bringing you down? Are there self-loathing going on? Are you putting yourself down? Are you experiencing a lot of guilt and shame? Some of these experiences can bring our frequency right back down. And then before you know it, life is just not going the way we wanted it again. The highest frequency is authenticity. So when you're just being completely yourself, you're not thinking about it, you're just being so you, then your frequency is high. But keep in mind that sometimes we think we're being ourselves, but it's not necessarily us. Sometimes they can even be masks that we've learned to put on, thinking that it's the real us, but it's actually just another coping mechanism. To know how you're being purely authentic is you feel pretty grounded and trusting of life. You know, you don't have to necessarily be over the top happy, but you're kind of just content. You know, everything is all good, because the real us doesn't worry, because it knows that everything is always in divine order and that there is nothing that is permanent and nothing is absolute. You know, everything's just like a passing experience. So it's never worried. You know what I mean? So a great way to practice authenticity is by grabbing your phone and your camera and talking like this, you know, creating and seeing what just flows out of you. It's a really great way to tap into that higher frequency. I've had times in my life where I've been in a really low frequency, and because my channels can be open sometimes, I would attract low frequency beings into my vicinity. And the one thing my guides would always tell me to do was to go and create, because they said that that raises your frequency faster than anything else. So that means like self-expression, you know, living in your truth. And before you know it, you start to attract experiences in your life that match up to that truth, which would be freedom for you, you know? The more you live in your truth, the more you're likely to be able to live a life of freedom. The thing is if you're just always saying that you can't do things and that you don't have power and you don't have control because, you know, either the culture or the family has power over you, like you're giving that to them. But every time you choose to believe that you are a free soul who is boundless and can shift realities with their mind, then that is exactly what you will experience. Tip number 3, quantum potential. There are infinite versions of you that already exist here and now. So we know that there is no other time besides right now. The past only exists in your mind, the future only exists in your mind as well, which means that technically there is nothing else other than right this moment. And all of creation is already complete. Every possibility is already instantaneously complete, which means that it already exists. And so this reality where you're free, where you don't feel like you have to be someone else and you can just do what lights you up without worrying about disappointing your family, that reality already exists for you, my friend. So now all you need to do is to match yourself up to align with it. So it's not about going anywhere, right? You're not going anywhere, but you're becoming her so that you can actually start experiencing that reality. The best way to experience another version of us is through our emotions. We need to feel as though we are her, that person who is free and boundless. You need to really feel it. So what would she feel like? Would she feel free? What would she feel like? Maybe strong and powerful? Would she feel excited about life? So you got to do what you can to simmer up those feelings from within you. Imagining whatever you need to imagine, calling on whatever you need to call on to really just stir those feelings up from inside you, and walking as though you are her. So acting as though you are her, talking as though you are her. And before you know it, that's the exact timeline that you are now aligned with. So ask yourself this every day: what would the free version of me choose today? What would she do? How would she be? And walk forth as that. Tip number 4 is all about coherence. So freedom will come once your mind and your heart and your feelings are actually aligned. Because, you know, there's no point feeling like poop and then telling yourself like everything is great, I feel good. We know that that does nothing, doesn't it? If anything, it just is really annoying, makes us feel frustrated. But when everything is aligned, then this is when we can move really quickly through these timelines. When your brain and your heart is in coherence, it's so powerful. And one way you can do this is by taking a few moments every day for 5-10 minutes to just breathe to and from the heart. So keeping your eyes closed, focusing on your heart area. As you breathe in, you're imagining the breath is kind of like coming from the heart. And as you breathe back out, it's going back to the heart. So you're just breathing to and from the heart. And you're just focusing on the heart while you do that. It's actually such a nice feeling. Try it now, I feel like. Feels good. And when you do that, you can even just bring up someone that you really love, or something, a pet or an animal or family member, and just make them really vivid in your imagination. That just like really boosts that feeling even more. You might even like to bring some things in that you feel grateful for, everything to just energize the heart. You'll notice that just by doing this simple practice every day, your thoughts will start to align more as well, and you'll feel way more balanced. And as you come into coherence in this way, you'll be able to move towards freedom a lot smoother, and the path will open up for you. So final step is all about the conditions that we have computed within our system. So quantum physics shows us that energy likes to move in the same patterns that it always has until we break it up. Essentially, the patterns are what the body learnt is safe. So if you were younger and you learnt that you need to walk around quietly and not make much noise because otherwise your parents will get mad, your nervous system has now learnt that shrinking and being small equals safety. And a lot of these kinds of programs might still be running today. So it's about finding them and changing up the patterns. What we want to do here is to teach the body that we're safe, regulate the nervous system, especially in those situations where you do usually feel fear. Just notice when the fear comes up and instead practice regulating. So regulating means not leaving yourself when you feel anxious or scared and going on your phone or talking to someone. Like, instead you stay with it, you stay present with it, you watch it, like it's a baby that just needs your attention. So you just notice it, send it love, send it compassion, let it know that you're here now, that it's okay. Breathe into it. Maybe shake your body out if you want. You're just kind of really being present with it, addressing the energy so that it can move. Once your body feels safer, then a lot of the things that make you feel trapped won't make you feel as trapped anymore, because you won't be so afraid of it. You'll feel empowered over it. So freedom is not about rebellion. We're learning how to empower ourselves, because for most of us, we probably felt very disempowered for most of our life, because that's what happens when you don't have as much authority, I guess, right? No one's fault. Everyone's just doing the best they can, but now's the time to start taking our power back. If you feel like you would like more help, or even just a community of people to be able to break free from the matrix, from strict rules and control, and just be yourself, we've got a community on Skool, which is particularly for cultural girls who just want to break free. Don't want to live by that usual pattern that everyone's been playing out, and you want to just be yourself, whatever that is, whatever freedom means to you, just as long as you are you, without having to worry. You can join that. There's a description in my bio. Also, I have a free workbook that helps you prepare to break free from strict rules and control. It's got journal prompts and activities, and you can check that out in my bio as well. So thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.